Let's go AFC North now. The team that the Chiefs played in the AFC Championship game, the team that the Chiefs play tomorrow night in the opening game, Baltimore Ravens. They won the division last year, 13-4. We know they lost to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game at home, a game that they were in. Zay Flowers fumbles to the end zone. They don't execute very well on offense at all. Lamar doesn't play to his standards, throws a pick in the end zone. And that's the game the Chiefs go back and win the Super Bowl. They did rank 6th in total offense. Once again, they were the number 1 rushing offense and then 6th in total defense. So this is still a damn good football team that I expect to compete at the highest level. Second year of Todd Monken is my biggest storyline. Lamar Jackson, career high in pass attempts, passing yards in 2023. And now they add Derrick Henry. King fucking Henry in Lamar Jackson. I used to literally do this in Madden, and now it's real life. It is crazy that Derrick Henry is now the running back of the Ravens, and he also adds a different element that they've had. I mean, Derrick Henry's been top 5 running back in the NFL for 8 years now. And then you put him next to Lamar Jackson. You imagine that read option. Where are you going? You play defense. Where are you going? You staying with Lamar or are you going to Derrick? And then they can run that RPO option off of that and hit their receivers as well. So I cannot wait to see what Derrick Henry looks like in this offense. Can he have 15 touchdowns? I don't know. I'm not going to say he can't. This is Derrick Henry we're talking about with the Ravens offensive line and the Ravens run scheme. Derrick Henry will be a freak show again this year. And then new defensive coordinator. Mike McDonald leaves, takes the head coaching job in Seattle. Obviously was, a very, very good defensive coordinator for them. Zach Orr is their new defensive coordinator. He was the inside linebackers coach for the last 2 seasons. You look at the Ravens linebackers, Roquan Smith, Patrick Queen. Dude can clearly coach. Excited to see if it's just kind of rinse and repeat style defense or if they change some things up on the back end or anything like that. I expect the Ravens to be just as good offensively and defensively as they were last year. Derrick Henry's the big addition. Departures. Patrick Queen obviously goes to the division rival and the Steelers. That's a big-time loss. Jadeveon Clowney, who had some big-time sacks, who they signed like right before the season last year. OBJ doesn't really do much for me. Devin Duvernay, they lose their kick returner, and then they lose their 2 running backs, obviously. But when you lose Dobbins and Gus Edwards, but you replace him with King Henry, you're in a good spot. Let's go to the Bengals now. They were 9-8 last year, missed the playoffs. Burrow obviously hurt in week 10, missed the final 7 games. I hate when quarterbacks get hurt. I literally hate when quarterbacks get hurt because, I mean, you're just bummed because Joe Burrow is a cold-blooded killer. That dude is a fucking killer, and he shows up in the big games, and he shows out in the big games. Excited to see Burrow back this year. They ranked 22nd in total offense last year. What do you expect without Burrow? Jake Browning did have some good games. Liked what I saw from him. I think they won that big game in Jacksonville. I think I remember that. And then they ranked 31st in total defense. Their defense was shit last year. I like their defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo, but I don't know what happened to their defense last year. Maybe it was because of the slow start in Burrow. I don't know. Their defense must improve or else they're not winning. They have no shot at winning this division if their defense is 31st again in the NFL. No shot. Biggest question, gotta be, Jamar Chase going to play week 1? Is he going to play at all? He is not. I think he's scheduled to make a base salary of $1 million this year, which is disgusting. Are you kidding me? Jamar Chase is a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL, and you can argue with your mama about that. He is. Jamar Chase is a freak show. I believe he's asked for 1 penny more than Justin Jefferson. Why not? Why the fuck not? They're best friends. They balled out at LSU together. They've put up numbers very rarely seen for guys this early in their career. I think Randy Moss and Jerry Rice are some of the guys on that. I mean, when you're in those conversations, you deserve to be paid his money. I think they should pay Jamar right now because if they wait to pay him in the offseason, price tag goes up. It makes no sense. I don't understand why the owners wait. Just pay the dude. If you would have paid Justin Jefferson after year 3, guess what? Would have been cheaper. And you might have been able to keep Danielle Hunter or Kirk Cousins. You wait, and now you pay him even more. Just pay Jamar Chase. Get it over with. Burrow wants him back. I mean, it's just dumb. They're not as good without Jamar Chase, and that's obvious. If you think they're better without Jamar Chase, you're dumb. You don't know anything about football. Burrow coming back from that thumb injury. This is his first full training camp. I think he had the appendicitis last year. Was coming back from the ACL the year before that. So first full training camp, they start really slow. Since Burrow's been there, they start so slow in the first month of the season. Zach Taylor decides to play some more guys in the preseason. Burrow, full training camp. I expect them to come out hot. I don't expect them to start slow because if they start slow again, really hard to get the 1 seed. Really hard to win a division. When you got the Ravens and the Steelers and the Browns in that division, if you start 0-2 or 1-3. T. Higgins. Everybody plays fantasy if you're listening to this right now. T. Higgins is my number 1 sleeper in those late fantasy rounds. Contract year, signed that franchise tag, which he didn't want to, signed it, and then showed up to everything in the offseason. Dude has been working his ass off in the offseason, and he's already a great wide receiver. A great wide receiver. I expect T. Higgins to have a monster year. I expect him to have a career high year. Him and Burrow, especially if they don't get chased back early, good fucking luck. T. Higgins is a monster, and I expect him to have a breakout year going into that contract here, but I do expect it to be his last year in Cincinnati because they ain't going to be able to pay him $30 million a year when he balls out this year. Zach Moss, new running back 1. He comes over from Indy, had some really good games when Jonathan Taylor was out early in the season last year. 8 starts for Indy last year, 484 carries, 2,000 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 53 career games. So he's always been the backup running back in all of those spots. I really like Zach Moss, his talent. Can he be the Joe Mixon replacement? You know, that's just pretty much just that simple. Can he be better? You also have Chase Brown as well, who's going into year 2. Can he break out? It's lots of speed from that Chase Brown. You might be hearing about him late in fantasy if he can win over this job or something happens. Besides Zach Moss, you had Mike Gesicki, new tight end there. 7th season he's going into. 28 career touchdowns in 98 games. Just a really solid player. Like Gesicki, he'll catch a couple touchdowns this year from Burrow. Jermaine Burton, 3rd round pick from Bama, wide receiver. I like this guy. I like him a lot. I loved him at Bama. Started his career at Georgia. 132 catches, 2,300 yards, 22 touchdowns in 50 games. I thought he was Milroe's top guy last year. Really like his route running. Older guy, veteran guy. Be interesting to see if he can get into that crowded wide receiver room and make some plays for them coming up this season. Trent Brown, new right tackle. 93 career starts in 9 seasons. Never can have enough good old linemen, especially when you got Burrow in the injury history. Geno Stone comes over from Baltimore, 3 seasons there. Love that pickup from there. 7 picks, 9 pass deflections in 23. He balled out. And then you got Sheldon Rankins, nice guy added to the defensive line depth. They do lose DJ Reader, Tyler Boyd, and Joe Mixon. DJ Reader could be a huge miss for them if they can't fill that production. He's a great defensive tackle, stops the run, can pressure the quarterback. So, and then you lose Boyd, who, doesn't really do much for me. And then Mixon, can you replace this production? Steelers now. Let's talk Steelers, baby. 10-7 last year. Tomlin makes the playoffs again. Lost to the Bills in the wild card. 25th in total offense, 21st in total defense. I mean, the most consistently average team maybe in sports. They're going to win 9 games at least every year. They won 10 last year. But is Tomlin 17 consecutive seasons without a losing record is kind of mind-boggling to think about. Especially when you think about who the quarterback's been for the last couple of years. And those last couple of years have been in the fact that they literally wouldn't let him throw the ball. I don't know if it's going to continue this year. I really don't. If Burrow stays healthy, if the Ravens are just as good as they were last year, and the Browns get their head out of their ass and play quality football for a whole season, I don't see the Steelers going 9-8 this year. Now, I'm going to look like an idiot when Tomlin wins 10 games this year, but I'm going to go out on a limb. I love the Steelers. I love that franchise, love that organization. I don't know. I don't see it this year. Their defense, what are you ever going to pick them to be worse than 5th? They were 21st last year. So can the defense respond this year and play better? I don't know. What fucking version of Russell Wilson are you getting? Pittsburgh and Russell Wilson feels like the farthest part away from a match made in heaven. But The one thing the Steelers want is they want to win football games. And if Russell Wilson can win football games, putting up 200 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions, and Najee and Jalen Warren go crazy, Steelers fans probably be pretty happy. Mike Tomlin wants a quarterback that doesn't turn the football over. Russell Wilson only had 8 picks last year. You probably thought he sucked last year. He only had 8 picks, 23 touchdowns. Now, the Broncos weren't very good, but I don't know how much they're going to ask him to do. I really don't. I don't think they're going to ask him to do a lot. He is not Seattle Russell Wilson. He is so far from it now. He's not going to scramble like he used to. Can still throw the deep ball, though. It's fine. But he's now under Arthur Smith. New offensive coordinators in the last 3 years, obviously, as the Falcons head coach before that. Titans OC in 19 and 20 when they had the 1 seed with Tannehill as their quarterback. He's going to run the football. Top 10 rushing yards per game the last 2 seasons in Atlanta. Najee, Jalen Warren. Little thunder and lightning. I always love Najee. Will always love Najee. But they didn't pick up his 5th-year option. So, is Najee now in a prove-it year and maybe in his last year in Pittsburgh? I don't think they re-sign him, even if he goes crazy. Because if he goes crazy, somebody's going to try to pay him $12 million, $10 million a year. I don't envision the Steelers doing that. I really don't. Jalen Warren had some huge games last year. Believe me, I had him in fantasy, and I used to start him over Najee because he could break off and rip off crazy runs. I like Najee for certain situations, and I love Warren. I think Arthur Smith will use them beautifully. Really excited to see if those two guys can really break out under Arthur Smith and allow Russell Wilson to just kind of be a game manager. You also have Fields, Justin Fields. Is he going to have a couple packages, a lot of packages? Are we going to see him every week, specific games? You put the ball in that dude's hands, electricity follows. I'll be intrigued to see how they use him. And if Wilson struggles, we might see Fields this year. Or if Wilson gets hurt, we might see Fields this year. Think we see Fields start at least 1 game this year. That's just my prediction. They pick up Van Jefferson. 6th season he's going into, 1,600 yards, 10 touchdowns in 61 games. Always kind of been the 3rd guy. I think he was in Atlanta last year, was in the Rams before that, won a Super Bowl, produced, good player. And then they get Roman Wilson, the rookie from Michigan, wide receiver, got hurt a little bit in camp. I'm excited to see what he can do. You talk about fitting a program from where you come from college. That's Roman Wilson playing for the Steelers. Zach Frazier, new starting center, rookie from West Virginia. This dude literally hopped off the field with a broken leg when he was in college. Steeler, if you ask me. Patrick Queen. They got a linebacker again, fellas. They do. Ryan Shazier, obviously, devastating career-ending injury, was supposed to be their guy and would have been their guy still to this day, I believe. But they finally get Patrick Queen, and they get him from Baltimore. So you take away one of Baltimore's best defensive players, add him to yours. Patrick Queen fits perfectly in this team. Excited to see what he looks like leading that defense. You also had Cordell Patterson. And why do I talk about Cordell Patterson? Because think about the open, the new kickoff rule. Cordell Patterson is a freak show. Can he be the one that exploits the kickoff rule? I think if there's one person I'm putting my money on, Cordell Patterson. Departures, Deontay Johnson and Allen Robinson, okay. All right. I don't know if that means a whole bunch. Deontay was really good for them, but, dropped a lot of balls and could not catch touchdowns. Allen Robinson doesn't do much for me. They replace him, pretty much Van Jefferson. And then literally the whole quarterback room is gone. Kenny Pickett gone, Trubisky gone, Rudolph gone. New era of quarterbacks in Pittsburgh. Excited to see if these quarterbacks have more success than the past ones did. Let's go Browns. 11-6 record last year. Lost to the Texans in the wild card. They got shit stomped by the Texans in the wild card. They didn't even show up at all in that game. But 16 total offense, and then they had the number 1 defense last year and the number 1 passing defense last year. So the defense is sick. The defense is very, very good. Jim Schwartz knows what he's doing. Obviously, you have Myles Garrett and a bunch of other guys that can ball out. But let's be honest. Is Deshaun Watson still good at football? Does anybody know? I don't know. Do you know? I don't know. His last good year was in 2020. Well, I'm not going to get into all the things that we all know about as to why he's didn't play a couple of those seasons and whatever. We'll just leave it at that. But I don't know if Deshaun Watson's still good at football. It's been 4 seasons since we've seen him play decent. And even when he was in Houston, he used to put up numbers, but their team sucked. So what do they need from Deshaun now? Really, they just need what Flacco did at the end of last year. Manage the game, try not to turn the ball over as much as Flacco did. That's the one thing people just glossed over, is that he threw 8 picks last year in those games that he had. But if Deshaun Watson's still decent at football, the Browns can be really good because their defense is disgusting. It's top 5 in the NFL. It will be dominant again this year, but the whole season relies on Deshaun Watson. Literally the entire season relies on Deshaun Watson. They do have Jameis as their backup now. Jameis, the GOAT of pregame speeches. The guy who makes me want to run through a wall before in a football game. But if you're a Browns fan, you're probably hoping Jameis doesn't play this year because that means Deshaun played well. And then Nick Chubb had that gruesome leg injury last year. I think that was a Monday night football game or a Sunday night football game. It was primetime for sure. That was nasty. On the PUP list, so he's going to miss the first 4 weeks no matter what. Does he come back week 5? And what does he look like when he does? Chubb is a beast. One of the best running backs in football when he's healthy. But that knee injury was nasty. He did come back from a crazy knee injury in college as well, though. So if there's optimism that he can do it again, it will be there. That was well before all the hits he took in Cleveland. But excited to see if he can come back week 5 and maybe produce for them in return to form, because when they run the football well, they're a damn good football team. And then, will the defense carry? Again, if the offense stays stagnant, it's tough to ask that 2 years in a row. I would expect the offense to improve a little bit. I mean, 16th with Flacco and whatever they got from Deshaun and DTR last year. Hopefully they can play, be better. But, I mean, this is the best up and down division in football. It is every year. It has been for a long time. Steelers, Ravens, you can pencil them in for winning record every single season. The Browns, obviously, with Stefanski, have been much better. They pick up Jerry Jeudy. I already told you about Jameis Winston. They get Jordan Hicks to play middle linebacker for them. The Jeudy trade does nothing for me. If you watch his Broncos career, whatever. He was a great receiver at Alabama in college, but he's proved nothing in the NFL. We'll see if Cleveland is the spot for him. I'm going to pick the Bengals to win this division. A little bit of a surprise, a little bit going out on a limb. I think they have the best quarterback in this division. I'm a giant Lamar Jackson fan. Hard for me to even say that. But you listen to that Pardon My Take interview that Joe Burrow did when Big Cat and PFT asked him, you feel like people forgot about you? And you look at his face and you hear the tone of voice when he says, yeah, I think people did forget about me. That's a scary proposition. I think Joe Burrow puts up MVP numbers, maybe even finishes top 5 in the MVP. I'm picking the Bengals. Big bounce back year. They win this division.